And welcome back.
Welcome back,
Welcome back
gamers.
to another discussion video for One
I don't
Piece.
know.
This
I
time,
don't know why I
we're
say
discussing
gamers. This isn't a gaming podcast.
not a gaming podcast yet. Just wait till I get
Not
you.
yet.
Not wait. Just wait till we get you on Xenoblade. Then it'll become a gaming
Look,
podcast.
then I can say what's up, gamers.
What's up,
What's up?
readers?
Yeah. What's up, readers? What's up,
There's-
One Piece fans?
What's up, One Piece fans? It's time for another discussion. This time, the first third-ish of Dressrosa that I have read.
Third-ish.
I don't remember what the chapter range is. I think it's like 700 to 700 something. But it's the end of volume 70 to the end of volume 73.
Yeah.
Which I had an absolute blast reading this section of the story. This has been one of my favorite parts to read so far.
So much fun to listen to him read. He does like live reading recordings so that I get to get his initial reactions and thoughts for these discussions. And maybe those will get posted someday, somewhere, if we can ever deal with copyright. But
yeah. Who knows? But this was a great section of the story. I don't have as much necessarily to dig into as in the past stuff like Fishman Island or Punk Hazard, probably because I've not finished Dressrosa yet, so I don't really know how it ends or where it's going necessarily. I do have a lot of things that I want to talk about and that I've been thinking about as I've been reading. So I guess I can sort of go over my general thoughts on the section. I love this section of the story. I think it's doing a lot of really interesting things. I'm especially interested in where Oda is going with the whole toy thing.
Yeah.
On top of that,
I think that's one of the most like horrifying and like menacing
extremely fucked.
It's so fucked.
it's really, and I like, at first I didn't really know what he was doing with it. I'll get to my thoughts on what I think he's doing with it now. Although it is a little bit informed by current events taking place approximately 10 years after this was written, so, you know, say what you will about that analysis.
Yeah.
I feel like so far the Straw Hats have not gotten to do too much, but I'm not really upset about that. I think the moments we've gotten with the Straw Hats have been fun. I do want to talk a little bit about some Straw Hats during the discussion.
You know, again, this is the first third of this arc.
Yeah, the first third, and I feel like this
and we have a lot of characters to introduce.
A lot of characters to introduce, and a lot of like character arcs to set up in this first third that we obviously can't pay off in the first third.
Yeah, we have,
and when you
we have
also
Viola,
have
Viola
and Scarlet and the dwarves and the Mr. Soldier
and Rebecca
and King Riku and Law,
all the other fighters in the arena,
you know, and that's just like the tip of the iceberg for this arc.
Right. And then the whole Don Quixote family.
Yeah, then the whole Don Quixote family. And then also you have to balance 9 Straw Hats, plus Kinemon, plus Momonosuke, plus Trafalgar Law on top of all that.
Mm-hmm.
And each with varying levels of importance to the plot. I'm imagining Law is going to be increasingly important as we move forward. A surprising take, I guess. You know, wow, what a crazy idea. Law is going to be important in this arc.
The most ice-cold take. Hey guys, I think Law might be important in this arc.
Maybe my most ice-cold take yet. Law is going to be important, I think. As if he hasn't been important already.
Right. As if this whole thing isn't kind of his fault.
Yeah.
Or his doing. Fault makes it sound like it's a bad thing, but...
Yeah. As if this isn't his plan.
Right.
Or partially his plan. It's being co-opted a little bit.
He had a plan.
He did have a plan. And currently, he's unconscious, so as far as he knows, everything's going according to plan.
Everything's going great.
Everything's going great. Luffy and Frankie are definitely not planning to take down the entire country of Dressrosa. For sure they're not. Why would Luffy do that?
That would be crazy, Luffy. Why would you do something like that?
I think Law would be surprised if Luffy didn't, to be entirely honest.
Honestly, I think at this point Law kind of understands what he got himself into.
Yeah, I think he knows. I think he might know kind of what mess he's gotten himself into.
I just imagine every time Luffy's like, no, we're gonna do this instead. Law just going like, God, I should have asked Kid.
Yeah.
Oh, why did I ask this fucking
There
idiot?
had to have been somebody else.
I could have called a poo, man.
I could have called Capone, bro. This could have been Drake. I could have had a dinosaur right
I
now.
could have had a fucking dinosaur with me.
Dinosaur's too busy dealing with wet hair caribou.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I love the one panel of Caribou just getting destroyed by a dinosaur. You're like, is that Drake?
Yeah, because I was supposed to know? It could have just been a dinosaur.
Been a dinosaur.
We've seen dinosaurs in this world. They exist.
Right.
He could have just been.
It's not out of the question that it was just a dinosaur who fucked up Caribou.
It could have just been a dinosaur. But man, this section of the story is really good. I like a lot of the stuff that's going on here, and it is doing such great setup work, and Oda's so good at setup work.
Another ice cold take.
Another ice cold take. Oda's great at doing setup work, at making you ask so many questions, and finding ways to somehow answer them all, or leaves ones unanswered intentionally to answer them later in the story. Which I just love getting to see.
Absolutely.
So where do we start? Do we just start?
I guess I want to start.
Where do you? Yeah, you can say where we want to start.
I want to start with what you in the moment were thinking, and I guess with a little bit of hindsight, of Law's conversation with Doflamingo.
Which one? The one on the bridge?
No. The one over to the transponder stales where he tells him he needs to.
Give
up being a warlord, or
Caesar's dead.
Caesar, or Caesar dies.
I don't know. I didn't really know what Law was planning. I mean, I guess we could kind of assume that he was trying to disrupt Doflamingo's operations, since he wouldn't be able to have the government turn a blind eye, which would make it more difficult for him to work with Kaido. And if we're trying to work with Kaido, trying to eliminate Kaido, then Doflamingo being put against Kaido would maybe make both of them weaker in the process. Especially since Kaido would no longer have access to the Smile Zoan types, outside of the ones he probably already has, but he wouldn't be able to get more.
Right.
The question then becomes, why not just kill Caesar? Like, why was Law willing to be honest on that part of the deal?
Yeah.
Is a question. I mean, I imagine the Straw Hats probably wouldn't have let him kill Caesar. Actually, no, didn't Sanji and someone else try to suggest killing Caesar? I'm misremembering that. Let me look.
I don't remember exactly, but like, I don't think they'd be too upset if Traffy was like, "Hey guys, let's just kill the gas man."
Let's just kill the gas man. I thought that maybe I'm misremembering. I thought there was a scene where they whatever, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
But I thought I remembered Sanji. Maybe he was just threatening and making Caesar shut up. Is possible. But I was sort of interested in, and I still am sort of interested in why we don't just get rid of Caesar. Like, what's the point in keeping Caesar around, since he's integral to the Smile production? Perhaps there is more to it than that. I'm not so sure that there is.
I guess that asks the question of, is Doflamingo's warlord title more important to him than
Caesar?
His relationship with Kaido.
Yeah. Does whatever Doflamingo's doing have more value to it, or more importance than just working with Kaido? Like, maybe he's got even bigger connections than Kaido. I don't know what bigger connections could be. Well, I didn't know what bigger connections could be necessarily.
We do know that, back in Marineford, he was like, he told Moria, someone high up ordered your execution.
Yeah.
And he's like,
there's someone high up within the world government who wears like a bowler hat. Although Doflamingo doesn't seem to follow his orders like to the letter.
Yeah.
Considering he had that whole moment where he's like, if I ever get bored with this whole thing, I can leave anytime I want, which gets into some of Doflamingo's character that we get in this arc. And one of the questions I've got going on, sort of a vague what's the deal with Don Quixote Doflamingo, of like, what is it about this guy, like what is his, I guess, lack of moral compass that's driving him? and
What
how
does
does
he
it work?
want?
What does he want exactly?
He doesn't seem like the kind of man who wants to be Pirate King.
But
He doesn't.
they've
He
said
doesn't
that
seem
he
like
wanted
he's.
to be Pirate King, didn't they? Didn't Baby 5 say that his?
Did they?
I believe so. I believe in Punk Hazard. I forget if it was Baby 5 or someone else. They said that they would make them they would try and make Doflamingo the Pirate King.
Their goal, but it doesn't. To me, I've never read Doflamingo as a character who is trying to be Pirate King.
Let me see if I can find the thing I'm thinking of. But like I don't know. He seems to be very. I don't know. He's a showman, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, yes.
He
wants everyone to know how big and cool and evil
how big and cool and evil he is, and he wants to be entertained in the process.
Right.
And to Doflamingo, entertainment seems to involve pain, seems to involve people in the worst of their situations.
We're running through the panels, and that scene of him like flying through the air towards Punk Hazard is unbelievably menacing.
I'm trying to find the scene with Baby 5 where I think she says it. I feel like I remember Doflamingo being at the bottom of the panel. Or the bottom of the page. Yeah, it's like... No, it's not this one. Okay, this is too far back. I don't know where it is. I could have sworn I read that. Maybe, I don't know.
Anyway.
Regardless, I feel like he is a character that seems to be motivated by some sort of showmanship. He cares about being bored, if that makes any sense. Like, it seems to me, because this is one of the things I have on my list, so we can start with this discussion, which is why did Doflamingo leave the Celestial Dragons?
Yeah, isn't that
because as he says, I forget if he says this who exactly he says, if it was Fujitoro or if it was Law or if it was both of them, where he mentions that he was a Celestial Dragon, but he's not anymore.
Is not anymore.
And my assumption, obviously I think there's more to it than this, but I think that similar to how he says that he could leave the Warlord position if he got bored, he got bored of the Celestial Dragons and the way that they do things, and didn't find their unique brand of torture and manipulation of the populace fun enough. Because when you compare what they're doing to what Doflamingo's doing, crazy to say it, but he's doing it worse somehow.
He's doing it worse.
He says, what if when you became a slave, everyone forgot you existed? That's what his thing does.
Which isn't that fucked?
Ridiculously fucked. And then he has this Coliseum where once you enter as a fighter, you cannot leave until you're dead. Or until you've won, 100 matches in a row?
I think it was 1,000.
Oh, 1,000, thank you. Much higher. Much more ridiculous.
Right.
And like the way that he manipulated King Riku and had him start attacking people to create this big drama and then become the person. He's like a showman, which is weird that it's a card thing. He's almost maybe the court jester of his own court. Doing close-up magic where if you pick the wrong card, he cuts your head off, kind of deal. You know? But I keep thinking about what his motivations are, because I think there's got to be something more to it, obviously, that we don't know yet. I'm pretty sure they said they wanted him to be Pirate King or that he wants to be Pirate King, but he doesn't really seem to be going out of his way to do the kinds of things that would get you into the position to becoming Pirate King.
Right.
Like,
he doesn't seem to be traveling the Grand Line. I feel like Doflamingo is the type of guy who could become like an emperor if he wanted to, but he didn't. He never tried to take that position. He doesn't want that sort of responsibility, maybe.
Yeah, it's boring somehow.
Right. I also think it's interesting that it seems like he maybe wants to be a sort of, at least perceived as a hero, which I think is interesting contrast to Luffy.
He does.
With the way that he, set up King Riku to
take the fall.
He created a villain that he could
be a hero. maybe he's doing that again,
Maybe.
but I don't know. I mean, there is the whole like announcing to the public that the fake news article about him resigning from the Warlords was a setup by Law and the Straw Hats.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that. I don't know. He's just so strange.
Isn't he?
He just goes about things in such a strange way that it's hard to really pin down and understand.
Absolutely.
At least as of yet. But he's very intriguing, and he also, I think the most interesting thing is, because I don't know, back on the Warlord topic, he's not like Crocodile, for instance, in the sense that
No.
Crocodile was trying to become the king and rule this one place so that he
Mhm.
could get power to go to the Grand Line and go to move forward and become the pirate king, right? Doflamingo left where he was in an even higher position of power to become a pirate so that he could take over this place and have more fun doing it there.
Mm-hmm.
He's become the king of this island so that he can basically infinitely torture these people for his own amusement.
Yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't seem like he's not here to cultivate a stronger Don Quixote family so that he can go to become the king of the pirates. It does not seem to be that way to me. Unless maybe that was his plan and that somehow missing his heart is stopping him from doing that. Which I think maybe can lead us into some of the discussion I want to have about law and the card theming within this arc. I was called an archetype. This arc. Because we know, and I forgot about this while I was live reading, but I have been so graciously reminded that Doflamingo mentioned to Law that he still had the heart seat open for him. Or it was Virgo that said this, was Doflamingo still had the heart seat open. And we know that there is Treble, Diamante, and Pica, who are the club, diamond, and spade, respectively.
Yeah. We also do literally see a heart seat in Doflamingo's like office.
Yeah.
That was unoccupied when he was talking to his generals or whatever.
Yeah.
And so interesting that they call it the heart seat though, instead of the treble or the Diamante.
Well, Diamante and Treble are their names, right? I imagine it's the club seat, the diamond seat, and the spade seat. Unless it would be the Heart Army.
It feels weird for them to all just have those names. It feels to me like it's a code name.
Maybe.
I don't know this for sure. I haven't actually done that research, but so why would it not
also,
be?
Also, I did do some looking into the names, and so Treble and Diamante are club and diamond in Spanish, but Pica I don't think is spade.
Oh really?
At least as far as I could find. I mean, maybe I just didn't do the right kind of looking. I also learned that Trafalgar is a place in Spanish. There's a place called Trafalgar Plaza in Spain. And apparently Trafalgar is a word that comes from Arabic, and it means like the cape at the end of at a cave, the cape, or like the cape, which is interesting. I don't know if that really means anything other than just Law has a name that references Spain, and this whole area is vaguely Spanish.
Right.
But it is interesting also that he does not have like a
it's based on
name.
like ancient Greece and
ancient Greece
like
fused with Spain.
Yeah.
Is what the SBS said. But I find it, I don't know, I'm so interested in what's going on with Law's history, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Doflamingo mentioned, I forget if it was that Law betrayed him or left him or forsook the position 13 years ago, correct?
Yes, I believe it was 13 years ago.
And Law is how old?
Like,
the SBS has said this, I don't remember.
Like, I think
he's in like mid-late 20s, right?
Head, like, yeah, mid-late 20s, so he would have been like
a young teenager.
Yeah.
Or like 11, maybe. 11 at the youngest. Right. 11 to like 15-ish. Which is strange. Very, like, extremely strange. Because why would Doflamingo want a kid in a position that important? I mean, I guess there's the other kid that's in his group.
What about...
Because we've seen other children in his group, but why? Why? You know? Like, why?
Yeah, what about Law was Doflamingo like, oh, this kid? This is gonna be one of my generals.
Yeah, this kid
is gonna be my Corazon.
My heart. my corazón, or mi corazón, rather.
Right.
And so it's really interesting to me about like why this is the case, why Law had these connections, and it's before they came to Dressrosa, because he came to Dressrosa
Right.
and took over Dressrosa 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
Law was related to this whole situation before that happened, which is also very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Which leads me into...
Surely Law won't have a tragic backstory.
Surely Law won't have a tragic backstory. And so I briefly want to, before I get into the thing I want to talk about more with the cards and stuff, I want to briefly circle back to what I was trying to say with Crocodile, and then I got myself off track.
Oh, yeah.
Because I started talking about the Pirate King again.
Are you telling me we got on a tangent?
That's impossible. I can't believe
that would never
happen. But it's interesting in the way that, unlike Crocodile also, because Crocodile was a leader who had a group of eccentric weirdos that had, like, code names and designations, and, like the Mr. 0 through 10 thing is not that different from Diamond and Club and Heart and Spade, right? But Doflamingo, even though he doesn't seem to care for anything or anyone, still seems to care about his subordinates.
Isn't that interesting?
No, I don't know if it's in like a Whitebeard level way, because I don't think Whitebeard would be like, "Oh, Monet, die for me," kind of thing.
Yeah. It's not similar, in that sort of, but like,
but it's similar to Whitebeard and Luffy in that way.
He's not. It doesn't seem like Doflamingo is the type of like evil gang leader who would be like, "Oh, you failed a mission, I'm gonna kill you now."
Yeah.
Because you've disappointed me, like that trope.
Yeah.
It feels like he would like.
Well, he did do that to Bellamy.
Okay. but Bellamy was not a member of the family yet.
That's true. Bellamy was the leader of the Bellamy Pirates.
Right.
And also had Doflamingo's Jolly Roger tattooed onto his chest while he was not a member of the crew, which is strange.
But like when Buffalo and Baby 5 get fucked up by the Straw Hats and their heads
he's not like, well, you're
raft.
He goes and saves them.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than chasing the Straw Hats. And he goes out of his way to try saving Caesar.
Right.
And there's even a moment where Law has, I forget what her name is. Yola. Was that her name, Jola?
Yeah, it's like Giola or something like that.
Had her as hostage. Doflamingo was not willing to attack, and then Law chose to let her go, which is also interesting, and another question about Law's morality. But back on topic with Doflamingo, it's interesting to me that Doflamingo seems to have some sort of caring relationship for the family.
Right. It's not, and he doesn't call it like Baroque works. Like, it's not an organization. It is like a family, which is like a mafia sort of.
Yeah, a mafia sort of sense. But it still is more akin to Whitebeard or Monkey D. Luffy than it is to, say, Crocodile or Moria. Although Doflamingo has some similarities to Moria, which maybe we can get into. But I want to talk about the card stuff.
Okay.
Because you don't introduce a card theme and then not do anything with it. So I want to talk about my sort of predictions. This is more of a prediction sort of section. Because I think the first question that comes to mind is who are, and sort of also who has the face cards. Because presumably there is a king, there is a queen, and there is a jack.
And maybe...
Well, hold your horses. I'll get to that in a second.
Hey, we have...
Hold your horses. I've done some thinking on that one. I know what you're thinking. I've done some thinking. Don't worry.
My pony is restrained.
Don't worry. I will get there. Let me cook.
I don't like the way that sounded, actually.
Yeah, I don't like the way it sounded either, so let me cook.
I meant to say I'm holding my horses, but...
Yeah, his pony is restrained, just to make sure in case you missed that. But let me cook.
This stupid fucking bit.
Let me cook.
He's
so
cooking.
First, I was thinking Doflamingo must have a king, a queen, and a jack on his crew. And at first, I was thinking, okay, well that must be the diamond and the spade and the club, since he doesn't have a heart. But we've learned their names, and their names are not king, queen, or diamond, or king, queen, or jack, and they're not code names. They're not king, queen, or jack.
Right.
Which leads me to believe there's going to be somebody else either on Doflamingo's crew or on our side, on Luffy's side, that are the king, the queen, and the jack.
Interesting.
Because I was thinking, first, king. We have King Riku, who has been supplanted by King Doflamingo. So Doflamingo could be the king, or Riku could be the king, or
Doflamingo is a Joker.
Well, yes, he's the Joker, but Doflamingo is literally the king, so he could be the king.
He is literally a king, yeah.
And there's Monkey D. Luffy, whose goal is to be king of the pirates.
Right.
So I think one of those could be the king, or there's somebody just named king that's in Doflamingo's crew.
Yeah.
And then we have the queen, and there's a couple people that could be the queen. There could be someone in Doflamingo's crew that could be the queen. Maybe the girl that makes the toys, since she is central to the operation, she could be the queen. It could be Viola, since she is an heir to the throne. It could be Rebecca, since she's also an heir to the throne. It could be, and this is what I was thinking, this is something that I came to my minds, which suit is most commonly associated with the queen card?
Heart.
The heart. And which person is tied to the heart? Law.
Law? Is Law gonna be the queen?
I don't think Law's the queen, but I think, this is my theory, and this is the one and I think, obviously I mentioned those other ideas, but this is the one that I'm gonna put my foot down. This is my pedal goes up moment.
Alright, yeah.
I think that whatever event that occurred that split Doflamingo and Law was the loss of the Queen of Hearts.
Interesting.
And I remember there was a moment on the bridge conversation when, in his mind, Law said something about, I believe their name was Korra? He said Korra-san, which san is the Japanese suffix, because I'm reading the fan translation like a nerd. But I believe their name was Korra, which is a feminine name, at least. So I'm thinking maybe whoever that is could be the Queen of Hearts. And then the Jack, I don't know. I don't know. The Jack is...
What is a Jack even?
I don't know what the Jack is supposed to be. I have less thoughts on the Jack. I don't know. It could be somebody in the crew. There's also, there's always the chance that it's just there's a king, a queen, and a Jack in Doflamingo's crew, and that there's nothing really to think about it there. But I think it's interesting to think about how maybe their side has a king, queen, and a Jack, and maybe our side has a king, queen, and a Jack. And since we're on the topic, more so than the face cards, what is the most important card usually in the deck outside of the Joker?
Is the ace.
It's the ace. And now,
yeah,
ace is dead, so it's not ace.
It's not
However, there are two people in this world who hold his will. And if there is any card that can beat the Joker, it has to be the ace.
Yeah.
And hold on, where is it? It's somewhere, it's in this last volume. It's not, probably shouldn't even, the two, I have it even pulled up right here because I looked at it while I was thinking about it. This line from, not Sabo, because technically they haven't told me it's Sabo, but like, come on, it's Sabo.
Alright, it's Sabo, guys.
It's not like he's trying to hide that it's Sabo here. The Sabo says, the two of us have to carry on his will. So I think that Luffy and Sabo together are the ace.
Interesting.
I also think there is, you have to think about the ace of spades, but we don't know really anything about the spades. So perchance there is just an ace in Doflamingo's crew. But I think that Luffy and Sabo are the ace. I think that at some point Law lost his Queen of Hearts, or maybe lost Doflamingo's Queen of Hearts, and that's when they separated. Although it seems like Doflamingo wants Law back, and Law doesn't want to come back. So it's probably Doflamingo maybe killed or did something that caused the loss of the Queen of Hearts, and then that causes Law to split off. And then the king is maybe somebody like Riku, potentially.
Interesting.
To reclaim
Interesting
the throne.
Interesting theories.
And that maybe we'll have I don't know, like a face-off of our King, Queen, Jack versus their King, Queen, Jack. And speaking of 3 versus 3 face-offs, that perfectly segues me into another one of my notes here.
He's segueing like a fucking monster.
I'm segueing like a monster.
A monster trio, maybe.
A monster trio, in fact, is quite related. Yes, indeed it is. I have a note here that reads 3 admirals versus 3 monsters. Because before I had talked about, and obviously this is not an uncommon theory is
Right.
that Luffy will have a run back with the three admirals, obviously the new three admirals, not specifically Kuzan and Aokiji and um,
Nope.
I can't. God, why do they have to have two different names, each of them?
It was Kuzan, Borsalino, and Sakazuki.
Borsalino and Sakazuki. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What of which we don't even know if Borsalino is still an admiral.
Still an admiral? I presume
We have
that
not
he
seen.
is.
We have not seen him, presumably, but we don't
Presumably
know.
he is. But to the point, originally I was thinking that Luffy is gonna need to go up against them again, this time stronger and ready for them. However, I think that it's forgetting something about Monkey D. Luffy that is vitally important to his character.
Yep.
And it's that the reason, outside of obviously he didn't have hockey and stuff like that, but the reason that Luffy was not strong enough in Marineford was not because he hadn't perfected the Gum Gum powers. It's because he was alone.
He didn't have his crew.
And so I think rather than it being Luffy versus the three admirals, it's going to be the three monsters, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, versus the new three admirals. And the reason I started thinking about this is because now the admirals have a swordsman.
They do, don't they? We have the blind swordsman,
the blind
Fujitora.
swordsman, Fujitora, who I presume follows blind justice. And so my thinking is that we'll have Luffy and Zoro and Sanji, and each of them will have an admiral that mirrors them in some way. I was thinking maybe one relies on their devil fruit powers in the sense that Luffy does, one is a swordsman, and then one maybe is a master of hockey, in the sense that not that Zoro and Luffy don't use hockey, but then that's the closest power system analog for Sanji, whereas the other two have something else they're also doing.
I just also had a thought of, wouldn't it be neat? I don't think this is gonna happen, but wouldn't it be neat if Zoro lost his other eye?
Fighting
making
Fujitora?
him another blind swordsman.
That would be pretty hard.
Wouldn't that be kind of fucking sick?
That'd be pretty hard. But I was thinking about.
Or maybe he loses his eye and then remembers he can open the other one. You don't know if it's gone or not.
But then I was thinking about who could that we know of right now, because obviously there's a chance that we could just get introduced to a new character like we did with Fujitora. Right. But who could be an analog for Sanji? And it's going to sound a little strange, because I think it might make more sense for this character to be against Luffy, but I was thinking of Kobe being the admiral that matches Sanji.
Interesting.
And the reasoning why is that I believe it's in one of the SBSs they mentioned that each of the three monsters specialize in a particular type of hockey, although they're obviously proficient in all three. Luffy in Conqueror's hockey, Zoro in armament hockey, and Sanji in observation hockey. And there's one character in the Marines that we know has particularly strong observation hockey without even having trained it, and that's Kobe. And Kobe wants, his dream is to become an admiral and to take down Monkey D. Luffy. So I think I think that he will become an admiral. I think it makes more sense for him to be the one fighting Luffy while Zoro fights Fujitora and then Sanji fights somebody else. But Sanji and Kobe are both proficient in observation hockey, which makes me think that it could be Kobe versus Sanji, and then maybe Luffy has to fight, I don't know, Sakazuki as like a proof that he's strong enough to beat him now. But I don't know how he would go from Fleet Admiral to Admiral again. But that's just sort of the thought process I was thinking of. Obviously, that's like more than a decade's worth of writing down the line for Oda, so... But that's what I was thinking about with the three monsters versus the three admirals, with the introduction of Fujitora as a swordsman on the admiral side. That I think maybe we could have a mirroring sort of thing going on there.
That's very interesting.
Let's see. Where do we want to jump to?
Do you want to get a little bit into, like, we haven't talked about the plot at all yet.
I mean, we could talk about the plot. Which part? How do we want to just go through the plot? Do we just want to go through some of the?
I think we can just like run through generally, because I think that'll kind of get us through a lot of
some of the other things as they come up.
Some of the smaller things on our topic list.
Yeah, let me
Sorry to
speed up to the end of
break
volume
break
70.
the illusion, guys. We do have a list of topics that
I think we said there was a topic list last time too.
Don't let them know that. This is all we're supposed to be the geniuses, the people on the screen.
That's true. You heard none of this.
Yep.
Erase the last 5 seconds from your memory.
Uh, what's our editor's name?
Me?
Spencer? No, we have to have a separate editor. We have to have a different
We have
guy.
to have a different guy.
Yeah.
The different guy is the homunculus we're gonna get to not read One Piece.
You can't just say that with no context.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I just
Alright,
did.
guys, yeah.
They're not getting more context. We have a homunculus as an editor.
They don't get to know about the homunculus flesh puppet that doesn't get to read One Piece.
No, they don't get to know. Anyway, let's see here. uh, let's see. I'm trying to get to the end. Okay, let's briefly go over. So last time I discussed about how everybody else said they hated Momonosuke, and I was like, I don't really get it. He seemed fine. And then I realized that there was one more chapter of Punk Hazard that I didn't read, and now I hate him again, or for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause
Momonosuke
this shit sucks.
is not doing himself any favors.
But outside of that, you know, I thought he was fine for a while, and then I was like, oh, this guy sucks ass.
Yeah.
And then we get the confirmation that Kid and Apu and Hawkins have teamed up, which is cool. I'm excited to see more of them. We get a brief shot of Bonnie proving that she's alive.
Hell yeah.
Which is cool. But I think I know what the next thing sort of is that comes up. Yeah, here we are. So we learn about.
Oh.
In the process of trying to get Doflamingo to leave the warlord position, we learn about what the warlords look like right now. The warlords of the sea. There are only 7 in the world. The greatest swordsman, Hawkeye, Dracula Mihawk, the king of Dressrosa, Don Quixote Doflamingo, the marine's human weapon, the tyrant, Bartholomew Kuma, the empress of Amazon Lily, Boa Hancock, the surgeon of death, Trafalgar Law, and the genius jester, Buggy the Clown.
I asked you specifically, do you think Buggy might be a warlord? You said no.
I did.
That'd be
say
crazy.
No.
That'd be crazy.
I really didn't think he would do it. I thought he was too stupid, to be entirely honest. What did he do to prove it? How did he get in?
He was on Gold Roger's crew.
I guess. Law had to bring like 100 people's severed hearts.
He was the reason that the
Teach had to kidnap
people of the world got to see the events of Marineford.
Yeah, but that would be like an opposite reason for him to be a warlord.
So
that was something that hurt the world.
So they want him under their control.
I guess. He's a big threat to the world.
He is.
The genius jester.
The genius jester.
The genius jester, the 1,000-piece clown, Buggy. Also, I want to specifically read. He's described by the Marines as the living legend and the commander of the Pirate Dispatch Organization.
Mm-hmm.
However, you might have noticed, keen-eared viewer, that's 6 names. And the Marine reading these out follows those 6 names up with, along with the man I mentioned earlier, that makes 7. Hey, Oda? What the heck, man? That's not cool. You can't do that.
You don't want to share with the class, Oda?
You don't want to share with the class, Oda? So, I've been doing some thinking about who the warlord could be, the 7th warlord. I have not come to any real conclusions, because the only idea I had got deconfirmed at the end of Volume 73. Because obviously, you don't hide this kind of information if it's not important.
Right.
So either A, it's a character that we know but shouldn't know is a warlord.
Mm-hmm.
B, it's a character we haven't met but their name would be a spoiler because they would be related to some character we know in some capacity. Or C, and this kind of is the same thing as option A, they're supposedly dead but now they're not. And they're back on the sea.
Could be Moria.
It could be Moria. That is entirely possible. I don't see why they would do that, considering they sent Doflamingo to kill Moria because he wasn't good enough to be a warlord 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It could be
Probably
Crocodile, but I don't think
not Moria.
Crocodile has any interest in becoming a warlord anymore after they threw him aside. I think he wants to spite the world government now.
Yeah.
I was thinking it might be Sabo, and that they weren't telling us was because we weren't supposed to know he was alive. But he seems to be working with the revolution, so that appears to not be the case. I don't know who else it could be. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it could be anybody related to Blackbeard, because Blackbeard already got what he wanted out of the warlord position, and why would they ever let anybody related to Blackbeard back in?
I don't think that anyone related to Blackbeard is ever gonna get a warlord position again.
It could be someone related to Whitebeard's crew, like say Marco, but I don't see someone from Whitebeard's crew being chill with working with the government after they executed Ace and killed Whitebeard, even if that was partially Blackbeard's fault.
Yeah.
I don't see someone like Marco
right.
or Diamond Jozu being chill about that. And so this has sort of been my thought process where I've just sort of hit a wall. And I don't really know. I mean, like, maybe, here's another thought. It could be one of the other villains from a previous arc, and they're trying to save the surprise that that villain is a warlord. Because
it could be Django.
I was not thinking Django, since he's a Marine.
Well, like it happened in 2 years.
You can go back to being a pirate. So maybe it's one of the villains from the East Blue, such as Arlong, but I don't see Arlong doing that because he hates the world government and hates humans. I don't think Kuro is him.
Could be Don Krieg.
I don't think he's him either. Considering, I don't know, I mean, a lot can happen in 2 years, I guess, but I don't think it's Don Krieg. Like, I don't know, none of the guys from the East Blue really seem like they're him enough to be the guy.
Could be the dog Choo Choo.
Choo Choo owns his own giant pet store now. Keep the goat's name out of your mouth.
So sorry.
It could be Gaimon.
Hey.
Maybe.
Hey, don't you suggest some shit about my goat Gaimon?
Watch your language.
I am a Gaimon. Look at me.
Look at him.
Wow, Gaimon. It's Gaimon time.
I don't know. Like, it can't be Wapple because we know Wapple's up to other stuff. I don't think it could be Eneru because I don't see Eneru bowing to anybody ever because he's God.
Also, isn't he still stuck on the moon?
He is. I'm pretty sure still stuck on the moon. Last we heard from him. But a lot can happen in 2 years. From him.
True. But yeah, I don't
know. I'm just sort of at a dead end on who it could be, which is why I'm leaning towards option B, that it's some character we have yet to meet that is in some way related to a character we know, and so if we heard their name, we'd be like, oh, this character has some connection to, I don't know, Roll the Slot Machine, Eustace Kid or something, right? Like,
oh, Eustace Kid, yeah.
Like if the character's name had like some name and then their last name was Kid, we'd be like, oh, okay, well that character has something to do with Kid.
Wouldn't Kid, just since it's Japanese, wouldn't Kid be his first name? Like,
is that how?
First name is Luffy's first name is Monkey.
Is his written that way or not? Or is
I
his
don't
described
know.
that way? I have no idea.
I have no idea actually, but
like, is his name Law Trafalgar or is it Trafalgar Law?
I don't know.
But then you have like Don Quixote is the last name. I don't know. I don't know if they're all written last name first. But then his name's I guess his name is Rorin or Azora.
No wait, I'm stupid.
You're stupid?
Monkey would be his first name. It's Monkey D Dragon, Monkey D Garp. I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I'm just being dumb, guys.
Wait, did you say Monkey was his last name?
I think I said it was his first name.
First name? I wasn't. I just sort of auto-corrected to you saying last name. Because I just sort of assumed that's what you said, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I was not paying enough attention.
Yeah, no.
But I don't know. I just like it seems like every character. Because the only thread I had was like, oh well, Sabo is the only character I can think of they don't want us to know is around.
Right.
Because like, what other character Because, like, it's not like they hid Buggy. Like, why would, like, what character would they hide, but they weren't willing to hide Buggy, for example?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't think there's really any pre-time
Alright.
skip villains unless
So,
there's like.
so your official prediction is that it is someone who is related to Eustace Captain Kidd.
No, I was just using Kidd as an example. I'm
No,
thinking
it's someone related to a character
related in
who we
some way
know,
to a character we know, whether that be
whose
an
name
ally
would
or an
be-
enemy, whose name would
whose
be a
name
spoiler.
would be a spoiler.
That's my
Alright.
thoughts.
Jotting
and
it down. That's an official prediction
That's
now,
my
guys.
prediction, since obviously my prediction that it was Sabo got deconfirmed. So fortunately,
Yeah, they didn't get to hear that prediction.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was
was
a prediction
just
I
for
had
me.
when I was reading, is that I thought it was going to be Sabo.
Yeah.
But I just can't think of who else could be the 7th Warlord. It just doesn't seem like
Mhm.
it really, like, anybody we know could be the Warlord.
Yeah.
And then here we have all the seats, with
Hey,
the heart
it's the
seat
heart
empty,
seat.
the flame fruit, and then that's the end of that volume.
Yeah. I think I want to talk a little bit about events in the Colosseum.
We want to talk about the Colosseum stuff?
Specifically, my boy, Bellamy the Hyena, who is right here on the cover page.
Who is right here on the cover.
You didn't recognize him.
I didn't recognize him. He does not look like this before, I don't think. Did he have this many scars? I don't remember having this many scars.
I don't think so.
And also, to be fair, Frankie's arm is covering the tattoo.
The Don Quixote do Flamingo tattoo,
So if I could have seen the tattoo, I'd have been like, oh, that's Bellamy. I just sort of assumed all these characters were people I didn't recognize. Although, I guess also,
Burgess.
isn't Burgess on this page too?
Yeah, Jesus Burgess.
Jesus Burgess. This page also features my boy a little bit further to the left of Bellamy.
Oh,
but I do want to talk about Bellamy because I have a note that says Bellamy and Dreams.
Yeah.
Isn't
Bellamy interesting?
He is interesting. Flashback to a non-recorded discussion from over a month ago at this point of Jaya, where I said I just don't see how this character could ever be interesting.
Dog.
Is that long ago? Jesus Christ! Time marches ever forward.
Yeah, because I said that Bellamy is one of my favorite non-Straw Hat characters, and you were like, what?
I was like, how?
How? It's Bellamy.
This is the most nothing character I've ever seen. He exists for the purpose of getting punched in the face by Monkey D. Luffy, and I didn't understand at the time. However, in my defense, Dressrosa's a good like 400 chapters or something later. So how was I supposed to know?
Yeah, this is true.
But I think Bellamy is a really interesting character right now, because I think he is going to... Him and also Bartolomeo also serves this purpose, although he's a little bit different than Bellamy is in this case. But he serves the purpose to show the impact that Luffy is having on the wider world of One Piece.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to say.
Because it's not that long ago that Bellamy was laughing in Luffy's face at the idea of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And then got absolutely rocked. And then got tortured by Doflamingo for failing him.
Mm-hmm.
But now, and he hasn't said this explicitly, but my assumption at the moment is that Bellamy, after being defeated by Luffy and being humiliated by Don Quixote Doflamingo, reevaluated his worldview with the context of Monkey D. Luffy.
Yeah.
Probably even more so in the 2 years since when Monkey D. Luffy, this man who he thought was a nothing burger, followed his dreams to the point that he destroyed Enies Lobby, declared war on the world government, broke into and out of Impel Down, and almost freed a captive from Marineford at the Summit War.
Yeah.
And so I think, we don't know what it is or that he even has one, but I believe that Bellamy currently has a dream that he wants to pursue.
Interesting.
And I think that he is currently trying to join Doflamingo's crew because he doesn't
against all odds, seemingly, because it seems like Doflamingo does
not want Bellamy
like
around.
Bellamy.
But he's trying to join Doflamingo's crew, either A, because it's part of his dream, or B, because he sees it as his only way to really survive, I think. Because I feel like Doflamingo, on multiple occasions now, has been trying to kill Bellamy.
Right, and he still seems loyal to Doflamingo.
And so I think that Luffy, and considering where the volume ends with Luffy going with Bellamy to get out of the Coliseum, I think that Bellamy is going to get pushed. The final push, the straw that breaks the camel's back, is Luffy again, and it's going to get Bellamy to betray Doflamingo so that he can pursue his dreams.
Interesting.
On the Grand Line, rather than Doflamingo's dreams, whatever those are.
Well, I can't talk about that stuff because I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but
I can talk about the fact that Bellamy has become not as much as my rooster-haired boy, but seemingly a fan of Monkey D. Luffy.
Yeah, a fan of Monkey D. Luffy.
He says that I'm not. I love that chapter of I'm not gonna laugh at you anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if I can find
it's
it.
Something. It's titled something like that, where they have the conversation. Bellamy says he went to the Sky Island.
Yeah, Bellamy went to Skypiea. I believe that he got the. I think he said that he got the pillar that the Straw Hats were supposed to get.
We gave that to Doflamingo to like get back in his good graces.
Yeah, the big gold pillar that they tried to give to the Straw Hats before they ran away. Okay, it's not in this volume. I'm trying to find that scene of Bellamy because I want to talk about that scene with Bellamy. Because I think it's really cool. There's also the scene during the fight in the Coliseum where Luffy watching cheers Bellamy on. Which I think is so cool.
Right?
And because Luffy,
it makes you love Luffy.
It makes you love Luffy because it just shows the kind of character that Monkey D. Luffy is.
Absolutely.
In that in these 2
years,
man
who he hated Bellamy. Bellamy was someone who he fucking despised. He ran all the way from the other side of the island to Bellamy just to hit him one time and then leave.
Yeah, but he has now seen that Bellamy
is a dreamer. He cares about dreams now.
He has a dream,
goals and ambition, and is doing something to follow his passions. And that is all it takes for Luffy to care about you.
Yeah, where is this scene? Why can I not find this scene?
In the same way that like Kobe has a dream. His dream is to catch Luffy. Luffy loves
thinks
that
that's
shit.
Awesome.
He's like, hell yeah, dude, go for it. I want you to succeed.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
In that Luffy says that Bellamy's changed. And then where is this? I'm trying to find. I thought that was where it was. But then it cuts away. Where am I missing this rest of this scene? But he has this moment where he respects Bellamy. He's like, Bellamy is right. It's this really cool scene with Bellamy. And I'm really excited to see where he's going because I feel like he's going to become an important ally for this arc in helping the crew to defeat Doflamingo, or at least get Luffy out of here and betray Doflamingo in the process.
Yeah. While we're talking about the Coliseum fighters, let's talk about him. Let's talk about our boy,
my goat.
My self-insert OC.
My self-insert OC, Bartolomeo. Who I adore.
The cannibal.
The cannibal. Where do I even start? This character is just like every time he's on screen, I've got a smile on my face.
Yeah. He's like he genuinely is just like the audience self-insert of like, holy shit, it's fucking Luffy! Oh my god!
It's Luffy! He's so cool! I can't even talk! Oh my god, is that Zoro? It's so funny.
I love it so
and I
much.
just, the way that he's introduced is this like menacing, threatening, like devil-may-care guy.
Yeah, he's described as a fucking cannibal, as like a terror to the city, to the people.
Yeah, who like
he whips his dick out and starts pissing off the side of the arena.
Yeah. You know, and it seems like he has these like some secret grand plan where he's like, I have to get the flame fruit to its rightful owner. Only for it to be revealed that he's this like ultra Straw Hat fanboy because he saw the execution or the failed execution at Logtown and thought it was so awesome that he said he was going to be king of the pirates, that he set out on the sea to become a threat, basically so that he could assist Luffy in achieving that goal.
Yeah.
Is just awesome. I think he's really funny. I think he's got a cool design. I think he's got a cool power. I am so excited to see more of Bartolomeo because I like him so much.
I think it's interesting to see the first guy, maybe not the first guy inspired by Luffy, but like in the same way that the
almost
world was
the exact
inspired
same way that the world was inspired by Goldie Roger. In the same place, on the same execution platform.
Right.
The same straw hat, although he didn't have the straw hat, at the execution. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Inspire somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's along with Bellamy, we get that sort of Luffy is this
becoming this
inspiration, and it makes me think back to what Jinbei said about like you are a bigger deal than you were before.
Right.
Monkey D. Luffy.
Exactly.
You're a big deal now.
And that comes with responsibility. And you can't just walk into some random village anymore because of who you are, because of your infamy.
The worst of the worst.
Right.
The worst of the worst generation. Inspiring people like Bartolomeo the Cannibal and Bellamy the Hyena, who at least seem to still regularly terrorize the populace.
Yeah.
Or at least, it seems that way with Bartolomeo, that he is not like a nice pirate like Luffy.
Yeah,
he's like an actual
great dude. He's just fun because he loves Luffy like we do.
He's just fun because he loves Luffy, but he's not like a nice guy to other people.
Yeah.
There's that one guy who starts talking crap about Monkey D. Luffy, and Bellamy creates a barrier and starts smushing him against the wall.
Yeah. He then pulls his tongue out and stabs his knife through the dude's tongue.
Stabs his knife through the guy's tongue after he vice grips the guy in the wall, hydraulic presses him into the wall. Hydraulic press versus Luffy hater. But I really love Bartolomeo. I really want to see more of him. I think he's incredibly fun. He's one of my favorite characters that's been introduced in this whole post time skip so far. And the fact that his dub voice sounds so much like Muscle Man has been the greatest source of entertainment for me. I never made that connection
before you said it. I'm like, oh my god, it
sounds
really
so
is
much
just
like
Muscle Man.
You know who else ate the barrier fruit? My mom! It's so funny. I love Bartolomeo. I'm so excited to see more of him. I really hope he is at least a somewhat relevant player in more than just this arc, but we'll see. Yeah. That doesn't stop you from loving a character in One Piece, right?
Of course.
If Bartolomeo never shows up again, I am more than willing to talk about him for the rest of the time anyway. Because I just think he's so awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I guess we can talk a little bit about the fight between Law, Doflamingo, and Fujitora.
Which is an insane fight, by the way.
It's a crazy fight. You've said it a few times now, but post time skip, Oda's action paneling
has leveled up like crazy.
So fucking good.
He has leveled up his action paneling like crazy.
Yeah.
And he was already good pre-time skip.
He was already really good.
His action panels in post-time skip are insane. And the fight between Doflamingo, Fujitora, and Law is just pure Sakuga, but written drawn Sakuga.
Drawn Sakuga.
And it's awesome. Of Fujitora's gravity powers. I'm assuming he has the gravity fruit. Pulling meteors out of pulling meteors out of the sky.
The scene where
Planet Wave style
do their one attack to block it, and then the fucking crater with the three pillars
left as
such a fucking crazy shot.
Doflamingo using his strings to cut it to pieces, Law using the room to cut it to pieces, Fujitora using his sword to cut it to pieces, and then just this enormous crater with three small pillars, with the three of them are standing left there is awesome.
So crazy.
And like every bit of combat we've gotten with these three in this section has been so good. Like Doflamingo flying through the sky to chase after the Straw Hats and like attacking Sanji, and then Law throwing the log and then swapping himself with the log
and doing shambles
to get himself closer, and then swapping Doflamingo with like I think he swapped Doflamingo with the log afterwards to like
I think so
put Doflamingo
to get
all the
him
way
further
back
away.
to the island. Yeah, is so awesome. Fujitora using his like gravity powers on Zoro at the end of the volume 73 is super cool. All of Doflamingo's stuff where he has like the string bullet and the parasite string and the flaming string that cuts a building in half from like all the way on the other side of the island.
On in the waters of like Green Bit, Doflamingo swings his heat string or whatever.
His heat string.
And a building just falls apart.
And a building falls apart because he gets teleported by Law.
Yeah.
And he just casually obliterates a building in Dressrosa.
Right.
And I'm so excited to see how in the world Luffy is going to be able to stop that.
Oh, yeah.
Because Luffy is made of rubber, and it seems like he does a lot of cutting, and Luffy is not the most resilient to cutting.
This is true.
He could use Haki, but I don't think it's going to be quite that simple.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what Luffy's going to be able to do to stop it, but I'm excited to find out. Perhaps he will need to work with Sabo after Sabo gets the Flame Fruit, and that somehow their teamwork will allow him to circumvent Doflamingo's powers a little bit, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm not willing to put down a prediction on that. It's just some thinking out loud a little bit.
Yeah.
But a lot of the action in this arc has been really good. Luffy in the Coliseum was great.
Oh yeah.
A lot of great action panels from
the
Luffy.
fight with Don Shinchao.
Yeah, Don Shinjao with Luffy hitting his head so hard with an elephant gun that it undoes the hit that Garp did like 30 years ago.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Which is hilarious and also cool action thing.
Yeah.
Which is like Oda's specialty is like, oh, emotional story with this guy's past and a funny moment about Garp caving his head in and then a cool action panel from Luffy hitting with an elephant gun and then the humor of that undoing Garp's hit.
Right. It's
just like all wrapped into one, which is Oda's specialty of like mixing the action and the drama and the humor.
Of doing everything all at once.
Of doing everything all at once and somehow making it work.
Right.
But a lot of the stuff in the Coliseum is really cool. Which I think, while I'm on the Coliseum, I want to talk about one last thing. I want to talk about with the Coliseum. I think, it has to do with Cavendish.
Ooh, cabbage.
Cabbage. Which before I get into it, I want to briefly mention I love Luffy calling him Cabbage, and then Bartolomeo starts calling him Cabbage.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's Bartolomeo.
Presumably because.
But
Luffy, because he just idolized Luffy, he heard Luffy call him that?
Cabbage and presumes that Luffy is right. Or, option B, he's stupid in the same way Luffy is stupid and also thinks his name is Cabbage, which is also funny.
That's a great idea as well. I didn't consider that.
But Cavendish has this moment at the start of the D Block fight when all of the crowd is booing Rebecca for not killing people.
Yeah. And
Cavendish has this moment where he tells off the crowd, and he has a brief moment where it's underplayed for a joke, where he's like, "Oh, do they think they're paying attention to me now?" Right. But he does mention after he makes that sort of his character joke happens, where he's like, "Well, no, what they said really did upset me."
Yeah.
And it made me think, and this is, I don't know how many people listening to this have even played Yakuza 4, but this scene made me think of a scene in Yakuza 4, which is one of the best moments in Yakuza 4, which I guess I'm going to spoil, so if you have an interest in playing Yakuza 4, please play it. The whole series is really good. Don't start with Yakuza 4, that's a terrible idea. PSA, don't start with Yakuza 4. But there's a scene in Yakuza 4...
You heard him, guys.
There's a scene in Yakuza 4 where one of the main characters of the game, Saejima, is in an underground fighting ring, and it's supposed to be a death match, and he knocks the guy he's fighting down, and the whole crowd, which is a bunch of like rich like ultra rich, fancy, like Japanese people in like fancy suits and dresses at like dining tables all start like chanting to kill him, to kill this guy that he's just
Ooh.
beaten in this fight because it's supposed to be a death match.
Yeah.
And they throw a sword down for Saejima to kill this guy with, and Saejima throws the sword away and yells out at the crowd about how, like, do you have any idea what it means to kill someone?
Ooh.
Because like Saejima, to brief um synopsis of Saejima's backstory.
I'll keep it brief. I'll make sure he keeps it brief, guys.
Brief.
Because he will ramble.
I will ramble about Yakuza if I'm not stopped. Brief synopsis of Saejima's backstory prior to this moment. He for an operation for his Yakuza family, he killed 18 people and then went to prison for the last half of his life. So he's been in prison for over half of his life, and he's known as 18 Count Saejima for being the guy who killed 18 people in this one operation.
Whoa.
And so he has this moment where he's like, every day, like killing someone, every day I think about the horror that was on their faces, and the pain still, and their fear and the pain and killing them haunts me every waking moment of my life for the last, I forget how many years, it's like 20, 30 years or something.
Whoa.
And even still, none of that was worse than the moment I actually killed them. So if any of you think you know what it's like, otherwise you can shut up right now.
Yeah.
And it's this really cool moment. I'm not doing exactly justice to it, but it's a really cool moment that reminded me of this, and how like Doflamingo has intentionally created this environment where people like those rich, fancy Japanese people in Yakuza 4 exist and are the common folk of this country.
Right.
And they don't even
just a regular
realize
entertainment.
They don't even realize that Doflamingo has puppeteered, quite literally, this whole country, and he's made everybody that's still left into these people who are amazed with and cannot be satisfied with anything except for deep, vicious violence.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that none of those people have any idea what that actually means and what that really feels like.
Ooh.
And I think there's a chance that maybe even Doflamingo doesn't really know what that feels like.
Oh yeah?
And that might be why he's so obsessed with this entertainment, and that he's sick in the head, in the sense that, like,
what?
He doesn't.
You think Doflamingo is sick in the head?
A little bit. I think he's a little sick in the head. I think maybe in a sort of psychopathy way, where he doesn't get that fear and that pain and that regret and that guilt and that sorrow that comes from committing acts like that you see in someone like Saejima from Yakuza 4. And so, since for him, he doesn't get that feeling, instead it has become a rush. And so, whether it's his actual wish or not, he has basically gone out of his way to orchestrate a world where other people can experience that rush,
same as him.
can feel that same rush that he does. Even though it's awful. Which is sort of where I'm going at with my parallel with Yakuza 4. And in Yakuza 4, it's eventually revealed that the guy who put Saejima up to this task didn't actually want him to kill the guy. That was the test, was that to make sure that he wouldn't kill him. But the people were not plants. The people were actually real people begging him to kill this guy.
I see.
But Doflamingo is not like the Florist of Sai. He's not setting up some test. He actually wants people to kill people all the time.
Right.
For that rush and to feel that same pain. And then you look at the gladiators who are being forced to do this, and they are miserable. They're like prisoners. They're dying. They're injured. It's a literal hell.
Yeah.
That only ends when they die or get turned into a toy. In which everyone forgets they ever existed.
And in which you no longer exist at all.
And now that this...
I guess we can talk about the toy stuff.
Yeah, now that this discussion has been going on for over an hour, we guess I can finally get into my thoughts on the toy stuff.
Hold on. Before we do that, we have a few smaller things on the list if we want to touch on those briefly.
Yeah, we can touch on
We
those.
like let's talk about Kuzan and Blackbeard real quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I
Which
don't
we
know what
have
the deal
very
is.
very little information about.
Yeah, I just wanted to point
Just
out that I'm thinking about it, cause like,
yeah.
why would he,
Why would Kuzan be
be
working with
working with Blackbeard?
Blackbeard?
And more questioning, I think even, why would Blackbeard want to work with Kuzan?
Right.
What does Blackbeard gain? Because Blackbeard
Yeah.
doesn't do things if he can't get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which
which
I mean, it
raises a lot of questions.
could just be power. Maybe he's after his fruit. Maybe I mean who knows. But we also know that Burgess said that he doesn't know if he can trust him. So it seems like
Yeah, it's not
it's
the
not like
most
he
certain of Blackbeard's plans.
right. Um, just
Um,
interesting.
my
I don't know.
guess,
Oh,
at
he has
least,
thoughts.
I think that Kuzan maybe is working with Blackbeard in an attempt to get some sort of leverage that he can use to get Sakazuki out of power.
Oh, interesting.
But outside of that, I have no clue to what capacity or how or why he would
Mm-hmm.
think that working with Blackbeard is worth getting Sakazuki out of power.
Right.
And I have no clue exactly what Blackbeard aims to gain from Kuzan.
Right.
Um,
Because
but I,
he definitely wants something.
yeah. And it's not like,
Blackbeard doesn't do anything for nothing.
yeah, and it's not like Kuzan is just completely against the world government or anything at this point, because he stopped Doflamingo from killing Marines.
Because he saved Smoker.
He saved Smoker, called Smoker his friend still.
Right.
But he's definitely, I mean, he's obviously rogue because Sakazuki
Yeah.
hates his ass. But that is something that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
And I don't really have an answer for.
We have a note here called Frankie and the Crew.
I want to save the crew for after the toys.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll talk about the crew last, I think, and then we can end with the
another
last
small thing about the crew is how do you feel about the crew being split up at the end of this section?
I am a little mixed on it.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, the part of the crew that's being split off is two of my favorite parts of the crew, which is Chopper and Brook.
Yeah.
So I'm a little sad that they're probably not going to play a super important role into Dressrosa. But Chopper got to be so important last arc that it's not a huge worry.
Yeah.
But I think it's being done because there are 9 Straw Hats plus Momonosuke plus Kinemon.
Yeah.
And
plus
so there
Law.
is a big balancing act, and Law. And so you have this big balancing act of main characters to follow. And so taking away like 5 of them is not a bad idea. I think.
I do think that it was done pretty much just for like plot and pacing reasons of like there's so much other shit going on in Dressrosa. I can't focus on.
I can't cut to Nami and Chopper and Robin, or not Robin, and Brook and Sanji and Momonosuke also.
Yeah,
I don't have that
chilling
time.
on the sunny.
But I also think that they're being separated so that they can be doing in the background work to be setting up for the next arc. And so I think that the next arc, maybe Zoro and Frankie and Usopp and Robin are going to take a bit more of a backseat to Sanji and Nami and Chopper and Brook.
Right.
And while we're on that topic of those people, why I forgot to write this down, but I'm going to mention it right now while I'm thinking about it. So much for talking about the toys.
we'll get there, guys.
But
We're gonna talk about the toys.
I forget they mentioned that, I forget if it was Law or if it's Nami that says this, but they mentioned that there are 3 key players in this whole situation with Doflamingo, and that Doflamingo has 1 of them and that we have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Doflamingo has the Smile Factory. We have Caesar Clown, and also we have Momonosuke. What in the world does Doflamingo need Momonosuke for? Because I have no clue.
You have no theories.
Like the only thing I can kind of think of is maybe that the prototype version of the Zoan fruit that Vegapunk made is somehow more complete than the ones that Caesar has been making. And so that if they had Momonosuke, they could study him somehow to make the smiles more effective. but I don't
Mhm.
know how they would do that. But
Yeah.
that's like the closest thing I have to a guess. Otherwise, I've got literally nothing. Um,
I will say I do know, and it took me rereading this with you to figure out why.
Interesting. Um, well, I'm gonna leave it blank for now because I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But it's so I don't know. But I'm not opposed to splitting up the crew if it
Yeah.
means that we get better paced arc and then get to use
Right.
another part of the crew next arc.
Yeah.
And then
Especially for an arc of this length and like character density.
Yeah.
We already know a lot about the Straw Hats. We need more time for people like Rebecca, uh, Toy Soldier, fucking Viola, Doflamingo himself.
Yeah. My only hope is that it means we get more out of especially Nami and Brooke next arc. Because I feel like Nami is the character who gets sidelined the most often, and Brooke is the character we've had for the least amount of time. And
Right.
we have yet to have an arc where Brooke is like a major player outside of Thriller Bark. Like, I don't know. I mean, not that Brooke has done nothing. Believe me, I can gas up Brooke all day. But
I know what you mean.
Brooke has had some good moments, like the moment in Fishman Island where he has like the death is not, when he has the whole thing about death with the guy who's like, oh, our death will be revenge, and he's like, death is that is not what death is.
Right.
And I was kind of interested in Brooke in this arc because I thought he might have had some interesting things to tie into with the whole toy thing.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that with the Frankie stuff later that I want to talk about.
Let's talk about the toys now.
Let's talk about the toys. Toy time.
All right. Toy time.
Okay.
This is the saddest time anyone's ever said toy time.
This is the saddest time toy time has ever existed. So, we've already sort of covered multiple times that the toys are ultra fucked, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That they are
it's
people,
genuinely like a horrendous
people who get turned into toys, and then everybody that knows them forgets they ever existed, and then presumably the toy people live as slaves for the rest of their lives. It seems that way anyway.
we see that when the people get turned into toys, they're given like orders and commands, and it seems like they can't
disobey
that. Yeah.
And then they're not able to live in houses with people. My assumption is that gives them a higher likelihood of remembering who they were.
Well, the toys remember who they are.
That's true, but it gives them a higher likelihood for the people to remember something.
Maybe, yeah.
And correct me, they said this, right? Correct me if I'm misremembering this, or if this is an assumption I'm making that I'm remembering as fact, that the toy house is the Smile Factory.
We know that the toy house is an entrance to the underground, and we know that's also where the Smile Factory is.
But I don't know that it's the Smile Factory. I couldn't remember if they had said that or if I was assuming that. My assumption is that the toy house is the Smile Factory, and that every night the toys are all forced to go there and work against their will to create Smile stuff.
I mean, we see a little bit of the underground of Dressrosa, which is like literally like criminal underground. That's like where Joker's hub is.
Yeah.
And yeah, the toys are working in like the ports and like as slaves and whatnot. But we know that the actual like Smile production is being done by the Tontatas.
Well, I didn't know if it was just the Tontatas or if it was also the toys.
Yeah.
Because they also have the other samurai kidnapped too, who I presume are also working in the Smile Factory. So my assumption is just any labor they can throw in there, they'll throw in there.
Interestingly, we know that Kanjuro, the other samurai, is not a toy because they remember him.
They do remember him. That is a good point. He's not a toy yet, anyway.
Right.
So where do I want to start with the toys? Other than like, it's extremely fucked. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna time for apolitical One Piece corner.
All right, guys. Everyone knows that One Piece isn't political.
Everyone knows that One Piece isn't a well-known fact. However, One Piece is a little political, and I'm gonna get into it right now.
Get into it, big dog. Talk your shit.
Because so I wrote these notes down 3 days ago. or so, around 3 days ago-ish, whenever I finished reading this section, which was a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I wrote down the question, what do the toys represent? And then, I forget if it was yesterday, I guess this technically dates the recording, but who cares, who gives a shit. Very recently, Elon Musk, piece of shit that he is, has revealed his new Tesla autonomic robots that I'm refusing to say the name of because it pisses me off that they're called Optimus.
Are they called Optimus?
Yes, and it pisses me off royally.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah, it sure fucking does. Anyway,
damn.
The robots, that's what I'm going to refer to them as. I was seeing a lot of heated discussion about it because, you know, and there was specifically one video they showed off that was like, you never need a bartender again because now the robot can bartend for you. And here's what I have written down, and I'm going to connect this to the toys. I have written down they've created a capitalist utopia purged of visible labor, with people being replaced by toys or robots in the real world, while being forced to work out of sight in sweatshops, presumably the Smile Factory. So I have connected a real world thing going on right now of creating this utopia where you have these silly little objects doing all the mundane tasks for you, cough cough the toys, who in this instance are also slaves working in sweatshops, even still, as well as basically forcing, is once again similar to the thing that lives in Luffy's backstory, but they're creating this environment that Don Quixote do Flamingo is, of like purging every visible, unsightly thing out of Dressrosa, whether that be the former king or people who dissent, people who are maybe poor, people who can't make it in the gladiator arena, and replacing them with fun toys. And replacing nice competitions with bloodbaths where we can make more toys. And then forcing those toys to and not even just replacing people with toys, literally making people forget those people existed and replacing that memory with a toy that now exists instead.
Well, it doesn't like...
Well, yeah, I know what you mean, but like... Removing them from the public consciousness and putting a toy there in where they would have been.
In its place.
In its place. A new toy that has no connection to anything.
Right.
And then hiding the unsightly, gross things that keep this whole Dressrosa country running.
The laborers.
Literally underground.
Literally.
Out of sight. Literally out of sight. And out of mind.
Guys, One Piece is not political.
One Piece is not political. So anyway, moral of the story is Don Quixote do Flamingo is Elon Musk. In the sense that both are Nepo babies who gained wealth and power through effectively an apartheid system. Not a joke.
Not a joke at all, really?
Literally not a joke on the Doflamingo thing. He quite literally kind of did that, as far as I'm understanding it.
I mean, he's cooking.
I don't know how much the connection really... I don't know how much the connection goes further than that with Elon Musk and Doflamingo. Because, like, it seems to me that Doflamingo has accomplished goals by himself and is, like, achieving and striving for things and has his own wishes and goals and isn't a waste of space completely. He's an evil use of space, but he's a use of space. Anyway, I'm not going to go any further on the Elon Musk thing. But I think it's interesting, once again, that Oda is creating this, like, disturbing capitalist utopia of, like, oh, this island is so fun and perfect and awesome.
Right.
Actually,
we don't see like regular human people doing work.
There's a Don Quixote do Flamingo. Actually, we
don't see people
Moria.
Like human people working in a bar or any of this other stuff.
It's all toys.
It seems like all the people of the country who are, you know, who revere Doflamingo, who aren't dissenters in any way, at least publicly, get to live this
like fantasy land,
lavish fantasy land life.
And it seems fun on the surface.
Yeah.
And then you dig in a little bit, and it's like, oh no.
And I
Um,
mean, we have the parallels to the Goa Kingdom and the Great Terminal explicitly laid out for us, but it's very
yeah,
interesting. Specifically, this is the arc that he chooses to reintroduce Sabo.
yeah.
That it is a place that is nearly identical to the sort of
The world that Sabo so desperately wanted to escape from.
right.
Um, and so I'm excited to see Sabo maybe working alongside Luffy to tear it down
Mm-hmm.
and bring about some sort of revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I have some other things about the toys.
Oh yeah.
For one, a couple nights ago when I was doing what I have been doing lately, where when I'm trying to sleep, I start thinking about One Piece because I can't sleep, and so I'm like, well, I might as well use this time to think about One Piece a little bit and maybe have something to bring to the discussion. And
Yeah.
I had this moment where I connected something that's very in your face, but has not been re-brought up since they have introduced the details of the toys.
Yep.
So it's not like we've been introduced to the toy thing with them forgetting people and then been reintroduced to this idea that relates to it. But in the Colosseum, there is a statue of a gladiator. I believe his name was Kiros. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Kiros.
It's Spanish.
Who everyone has forgotten about.
Yeah, it seems like it says no one remembers anything about him, but there's a statue.
How strange. I wonder if he's a
weird?
toy. Especially since we have been shown explicitly that when someone becomes a toy, people forget they exist, but it's not like they're written out of existence. There's still
Right,
evidence
because
that they
there's
existed.
the vice admiral
The
guy
vice
has all the
admiral
names
has a
of the people
list, and
written
he's like, I
down.
don't remember all these people in the tournament, but he has the
Who the
list of
fuck
their
is
names.
Don Chinchao?
As far as I've seen, Don Chinchao has been turned into a toy yet. He's one of the only two. It's him and King Riku. Who the heck
Well,
is the Jacket Man?
gotta be one of the worst fruits you could possibly get, right?
Gotta be pretty bad, right?
Really, like, there's a lot of great fruits in this arc.
Yeah.
The
The
jacket fruit.
Jacket
what
fruit
were
is
you
not one of
cooking?
them. You've got somebody who can turn people into toys, create barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Man, even turning into a spring seems cool.
I've thought about
string,
you know,
gravity.
Because we know how Blackbeard could have multiple fruits.
Yeah.
Imagine if Blackbeard wasn't like, oh, I want the dark fruit and the quake fruit. What if he was like, oh, I need Robin's fruit and Sugar's fruit.
Who's Sugar again?
Sugar is the hobby fruit, the toy fruit lady.
That's who I thought it was, but I couldn't remember her name.
That is, I think, the most absurd devil fruit combination you could.
Just like the million hands.
Right.
Turning everybody into toys.
Because all she has to do is touch you.
Yeah, it's
and
almost...
she could just grow a hand out of your body.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine instead if Blackbeard wanted the jacket fruit.
Look, as far as we know, there's no limit to the amount of fruits he could have. Maybe he's gonna be like an all-for-one and just get all of them.
Well, I mean, if Blackbeard didn't have the dark fruit, then the jacket fruit would be his next best thing, because that would be another way for him to get another fruit. He would just have to
so true.
He would just have to be worn by Whitebeard.
Yeah, Whitebeard would have to willingly put Blackbeard on
as a jacket. Anyways,
no,
I'm fairly certain that Kiros is a toy, and that I think he is going to become relevant to the plot somehow.
You think he's a toy that we know?
He could be a toy that we know. But the only real toy that he could be would be Mr. Soldier. I also think, speaking of Mr. Soldier, I think it's interesting that we have been told that he is Rebecca's father, but we have not been shown him in the past.
Yeah.
He's gone out of his way to not show him. And I don't know, maybe that's because he's Kiros, but I don't think we really got to look at what Kiros' face looked like on that statue. Didn't he have like a helmet on? Like covers his face? So I don't think that would be why.
Yeah, they said that like Luffy was wearing the same sort of helmet, I think so.
So I don't know. I mean, it's possible that it could be Mr. Soldier. But then why would he be a gladiator? I don't know. It's possible it could be Mr. Soldier. It's possible it could be a toy we have not met yet, or will meet. Maybe he's in the factory.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. I also I had a theory at the time when I was reading. I don't even remember how I got to this idea. Well, I know how I
Mm-hmm.
got to the first part of this idea. I don't remember how I got to the second part. My initial theory was that one of the Straw Hats was going to get turned into a toy, which I still think is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
at the time I was saying Sanji. I don't remember why I thought Sanji specifically would be the one that got turned into a toy. I genuinely don't remember why.
I feel like I remember you saying something about it
Like I
in the
know
live read, but I also don't remember.
I gave a reasoning and everything, and I've completely forgotten why. I no longer think Sanji's gonna get turned into a toy because he's a little far away and outside of this arc now.
Yeah.
Um, I don't
Who do
know
you
if
think?
I don't know. I'm not sure that anybody's gonna get turned into a toy. Cause like I don't know, but I think who would be the most interesting for the crew to like forget about? And the answer is Monkey D. Luffy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, cause I think it would be a cool moment of like the crew doesn't remember Luffy but are still impacted by his presence, like his
Mm-hmm.
dreams and the way that he has inspired them, and be like them feeling that something is wrong and choosing to take the steps needed to fix that feeling even if they don't know why. But I just don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think Luffy's gonna get turned into a toy because I think he's gonna probably escape with Bellamy or something here.
Yeah. So who do you think would be the second most interesting person to be turned into a toy?
Hmm, that's a good question. I mean, we know that Frankie and Usopp and Robin are the ones going after the toy factory.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Frankie has the most connections to this whole thing, but would it really be that interesting if we forgot about Frankie or Robin or Usopp in the context of this arc? I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think it's possible. I'm not super confident it's going to happen that one of the
Mm-hmm.
Straw Hats is going to get turned into a toy. But I
Mm-hmm.
could see it being an interesting like drama to happen within the arc of like, oh shit, we forgot about Usopp. Like we don't have a sniper anymore.
Yep.
And like, how does losing a member of the Straw Hats, not because they're gone, but because we just don't remember them, like how does that impact the crew? Is an interesting idea to me, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, is there anything else with toys?
I mean, I guess the toys kind of bleed into what I think you want to talk about with Frankie.
They do. So initially, I was thinking that Brook in this arc was going to be the one that connected to the toy stuff, because he was going to have something to say about what it means to be alive, and like, are these people who've been turned into toys, are they dead? Because
Yeah.
I mean, a man does die when he's forgotten, and these people
Mm-hmm.
have been forgotten, which is horrifying. And that's actually the first time
Yeah.
I've made that connection. Holy shit.
That's crazy. I thought you had made that already.
No, I made that connection on the spot when I said forgotten, or when I was talking about
Yeah.
Brook dying. Um, but then also I was thinking maybe Frankie is going to be the one interesting with the toys, and it seems like Frankie is going to end up being the one interesting with the toys since he's the one that has the whole connection to or is pushing Luffy to do this, the whole thing in this
Right.
arc. In that, like, how different is Frankie really from a toy? You know?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that separates a human person who's been put into the body of a toy with a guy who's almost entirely machine parts?
Yeah. I
I
mean, they
mean, he's
talk
even
about
being paraded around town pretending to be a toy so that he doesn't
right.
arouse suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, where does where is that line drawn? What does it mean to be human? Not in the sense of Chopper, like human versus monster, but in like a human versus object.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Frankie comes in this arc, is like, and obviously I think his empathy is also crucial to this section
Of
of like,
course.
obviously the other Straw Hats are moved by the the way that the toys are treated, but I think there's no member of the crew who would be more moved than Frankie, because
Mm-hmm.
not only is Frankie easily moved, but like
Which I love every time
Frankie, I
Frankie
love every time
cries.
Frankie cries. But Frankie is like, he's been sort of in this position. Like he knows he's
Mm-hmm.
been down on his luck, have nothing to his name, forced to work because it's all he's got to do, kind of thing.
Right.
And he's made it out of that. But like, what is it that differentiates Frankie from the toys? And maybe the answer is nothing, because they're human, and that's what Frankie wants to save them for.
I think I would agree with that.
In the sense that, like, it might be easy for other members of the crew to, like, create that separation in their mind, like for Usopp or for Robin. Not that they're unempathetic to the toys, of course, but like Frankie is on that line, and he knows what it means to not cross over that line, and he knows that the toys have been forced over that line, but they have not. They're not truly dead. They can become. They can cross back over if they can be helped. And I think that's where Frankie and his motivation is going to come from in this arc. Is like wanting to be able to help the toys cross back over that line and not be objects, but be people. And
very
maybe even,
I love that.
and maybe even, I hadn't made this connection until just now, that the toys, similar to Frankie, are creations. They have been created, and they have been created for the purpose of being appealing on the surface and sweatshop workers behind the surface. But their very existence is not a crime, it is not a sin, it is not a mistake. Just because Doflamingo is choosing to use these people for bad means does not mean the toys themselves are sin. And I think that perhaps the toys themselves will maybe who have been in this the longest will think of themselves in that sort of way, and that Frankie might be the one to help them out of that too.
Interesting.
And that sort of brings me to the rest of the crew, where we have this moment that is similar to the moment with Nami and Punk Hazard, where Frankie, over the responder snail, says to Luffy...
Can I real quick?
Yeah?
It's transponder.
Transponder snail. My bad.
You've said it in the library this whole time, and I keep forgetting to correct you.
Transponder snail. In my defense, the live read thing, the colored scans says like...
Yeah, they call it Denden Mushi.
Denden Mushi.
Yeah.
So I just kind of have to remember every time I see it, which I suppose is my fault. I do have the black and white open, and I'm checking things constantly.
Yeah.
But it's, you know...
You can also just call it. You can also just use the Japanese names if you would like, but.
Oh yeah, but then it's like the white guy in the kimono image, and I don't want to be that guy. That's so cringe. Sometimes. I don't want to say Royal Shichibukai. Are you kidding me?
I don't like Shichibukai. I do like Yonko, though.
I do like Yonko.
I say Yonko more than I say Four Emperors.
I kind of like Tenryu Bito.
Yeah.
Because it flows so well, but regardless, I don't want to get into that, into the weeds. But I love the moment of like Frank, because originally their plan is to just shut down the Smile Factory and leave. And Frankie's like, "Hey, Luffy,"
and let Kaido deal with
Doflamingo. But Frankie has this moment. Let me see if I can find it actually.
Yeah.
It's near the end of the volume.
I think it's also specifically because, or at least a part of it is the Tontata and the toy soldier. Their plan kind of got kicked off today because of Law's plan.
Yeah.
So there's maybe some like feeling of responsibility from Frankie, but also Frankie just respects these little guys so much.
I realize I haven't talked about the dwarves at all, the Tontata.
Yeah, I don't think that they're super.
I don't have much to say about them really.
I don't have much to say about them yet. I will though.
Trying to find where's the specific moment from Frankie. Yeah, here we are.
It's around here.
Here we are. But like they're discussing how their original plan is like, we're just gonna, we're gonna do this. Because Luffy says that the toy soldier, that's who Rebecca was trying to stop. Frankie, you have to stop that army. And Frankie says, don't be stupid. Saying is the exact opposite. He's spoken to Rebecca, and then Luffy goes on which I love this moment with Luffy where he's like, yeah, she's super nice. She bought me 3 lunches.
Even though she had no money?
And then the crowd was nasty? How annoying.
Right. He doesn't even probably remember the fact that she was trying to like
To kill
take
him.
him out in that
Yeah, no,
moment.
he literally didn't care.
He did not care at all. I love that fight because he is,
Yeah, because
while like dodging and subduing Rebecca, is still eating his
eating his
box
bento
lunch.
box.
It's a great
And then
moment.
afterwards, she's like, "Why are you not upset with me? I just tried to kill you." And he's like, "I don't
You
care.
bought
You bought me lunch."
you bought me food, lady. What you want me to do?
But here's the moment with Frankie. Luffy says, "Now I
Mhm.
haven't forgot about Trappy's plan. We're meant to destroy the factory, but leave Doflamingo alive because he's still useful. But in that case, what happens to the people trying to take Doflamingo down today? Is it more convenient for us if Doflamingo wins this battle? Luffy, no matter what you say, I'm going to take him down. This country may look happy, but there's a deep, deep darkness lurking beneath. This army of tiny little men are bravely standing up to a foul and powerful enemy. I can't stand by and let them die."
Oh.
And then the whole crew, well, not the whole crew, Nami, Chopper, Brook, maybe not so much, but I love the moment Sanji immediately is like, "All right, we're turning the ship around."
Yeah.
And then Luffy over the transponder snail, "Frankie, go as wild as you like. We'll be with you
Oh.
soon."
It
And
feels
you
like
can
it
tell,
calls back to the moment on the sea train
yeah,
where they're talking on the transponder snails and Sanji's like, I'm gonna go fuck shit up. And Zoro's like, dude, don't be crazy. And Luffy's like, would you do anything different?
would you, if you were in my position right now, would you do it? And it's like
Would you
everybody has
listen?
this moment where they're like, if I was in Frankie's position, would
Right.
I stop? No, I wouldn't. So we're doing
And
it.
I think this plays into part of the theme that we talked about last time of the way that Luffy chooses to lead.
Yeah.
Luffy is a leader almost in name only,
Yeah.
because he gives so much autonomy and decision-making power to the rest of his crew, to the fact that Luffy didn't know anything about these guys. He was fully on board with just take out the factory and book it out. But when one of his crew members says, no, we need to do it like this, he's like, oh yeah, cool, okay. He's willing to, quote unquote, because I don't think it's that deep, but willing to subjugate himself to the will of his crew, because that's just how he is. Because his crew, his family, his Nakama has a desire, and he's not gonna try to snuff that out.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that there's this sort of like overarching theme of leadership in these past two arcs.
Yeah. I
Of
mean, I
like,
definitely
how
think
does
that leadership is
how
going to
does
be important.
how does Doflamingo lead? Because he's somewhere in between like a Moria and
A
a
Moria
Whitebeard,
and a Whitebeard,
or a
or like a
Luffy.
crocodile and a Whitebeard kind of deal.
Right. I think it's very interesting, and we're gonna get more into that in these next few discussions.
Spoilers. Spoilers. We're going to
Oh
talk about
man.
leadership. I can't believe it.
Oh man, we're gonna do a deep dive on Doflamingo's character? No way.
No way. That certainly won't happen. But we also get. I want to keep going with this
Yeah,
moment
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
with these guys because we have the crew starts to turn around and they get attacked by Big Mom,
Yeah. The
and then
does it
Nami
tell you the
has
name of the ship
this.
here? I don't
I
remember.
forget. I don't think so. But Nami gets
Okay.
this really cool moment where she's like, "We can't turn back. We have the things that Doflamingo needs.
Right.
If we don't want Traffy's like sacrifice right now to be meaningless,
Right.
we need to get as far away as we can.
Mhm.
I trust that Luffy and Zoro and Frankie and Robin and Usopp and Kinemon can
Mhm.
handle this in our stead.
Right.
We have to do our side of the deal. You guys have to do the other side." Um,
Cool. It's so
and then
cool, man.
and then Luffy is like, "You're right. Leave Traffy to us. We'll get him back.
Yeah.
You guys head to Zoe." And then I love this moment also. We don't get a payoff for this yet, but Sanji says, "I'd like to ask your permission for one thing. Allow us to mount a counterattack against Big Mom's ship."
Oh.
Sure,
Oh.
go for it. We've already picked a fight with her.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
our
Monkey
job
D.
is to
Luffy
take care
so
of that
much.
factory. Here, you guys. As for us, we head for the palace. It's time to kick Doflamingo's ass.
Oh,
Oh yeah, baby.
fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Um, Sorry to our viewers who can't see this. You should be reading along.
Yeah, you should be reading along to the
That
chapter
was
I didn't say out loud.
that was the end of chapter 730.
Yeah. Let's see. What else is on the list? I guess I want to talk about Sabo and the Revolutionaries, and then I can end it with the thing that's on the last part of the list. Unless there's anything else in
Yeah.
here we need to talk about. Is that the only thing left? Those two things?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Sabo and the Revolutionaries, which isn't too much to talk
Yeah.
about other because there's not a lot. There's like half a chapter.
Not a lot yet.
But I'm so excited about it. So we get this. Okay, we also have the great moment of Bartolomeo saving Bellamy here.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But Luffy is like, I have to get out of here. I'm sorry, Bartolomeo is so funny to me. Him foaming at the mouth and falling backwards when he sees Luffy.
I think this is a small thing I want to say. I think this is another moment of like subtle character growth from Luffy, or like showing his subtle character growth. Because I don't know if, you know, pre-time skip Luffy would have made the decision to leave the arena, leave Ace's fruit to some random person for the sake of the rest of the mission.
Yeah, for the sake of what a member of his crew wants.
Right.
But I love that he's willing so quickly to put his trust in Bartolomeo here.
Yeah. Just someone who seems to have his interest in mind is trusted with his brother's fruit.
Yeah. And I love this moment too, when Sabo first shows up. I won't let you have the flame fruit, Straw Hat Luffy. And Bartolomeo gets immediately like pushed out of the way.
Yeah, he's like,
which
he's like, who the fuck you think you are?
Yeah, identify yourself. You've got some nerve talking to Luffy like that. That guy's the brother of the legendary Fire Fist Ace. The man who's gonna be king of the pirates, you idiot.
Yeah.
I know all that. I have for a long time. I also I found out that Sabo is voiced by Johnny Young Bosch.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great cast.
Although I don't know, it's not the voice I was expecting for Sabo, but it's cool that that's his voice. And then oh my god, this panel is both hilarious and heartbreaking at the same time.
Right.
Luffy doing the Eneru face, seeing Sabo.
Luffy doing the Eneru face. I love that this is a recurring bit that Oda continues to do, is the Eneru surprise face.
The Eneru damn Daniel face.
Yeah, and then it cuts away. Like, we don't get to see their interaction.
We don't get
it's
interaction.
Just Luffy running towards the palace, weeping.
Yeah, weeping. Safe trophy. I'll beat up Mingo too, and the flame fruit. That'll be fine too. And then this moment.
This moment, more than the Sabo moment, Sabo's reveal, fucking killed me, dude. I was crying my eyes out seeing Koala, Revolutionary Army Fishman karate instructor, Koala,
and she knows Robin.
Yeah.
They're friends. They are actually, like, she knows the people in the revolution. She probably knows Sabo.
Yeah, absolutely.
She most likely knows Sabo, and I love this moment.
I can only imagine that Sabo was like, "Hey, Robin, don't tell Luffy.
Don't tell Luffy." I mean,
I wanted to be a surprise.
There's also a chance that she just never found out that Sabo was Luffy's brother.
I guess that's fair.
Because she doesn't. None of the crew knows Luffy's backstory.
In the same way that Luffy was like, "Oh yeah, I knew that Ace was Gold Roger's son," and just never brought it up because it didn't seem important. Maybe Sabo was like, "Oh yeah, Monkey D. Luffy, my little brother."
Yeah.
Love that guy.
He
thinks I'm dead, by the way.
It's possible he just never told her, because like it's not like the crew knows about Luffy's backstory. So it's not like Robin would be like, "Wait, you're Sabo?"
Right. Yeah.
And I love this moment First of all, I love that Koala has taken out like 4 dudes by herself, which is awesome. Um, and I love that Sabo is crying over the phone. And pretending that he's not crying about finally seeing Luffy again.
Yeah.
I so desperately. Koala is so cool. She looks so good, man.
Right.
And
she's like smiling.
She's like
and
smiling
happy.
and happy and alive. And I want Jinbei to see her so badly.
Oh my god.
I want Jinbei to know that she's
that moment is
thriving. Oh my god, please.
Oh.
Please, I want Jinbei to know that Koala's thriving. And working to create a world that something like what Fisher Tiger is trying to create is just so cool. And then the two of us have to carry on his will.
At the grave of Whitebeard and Ace. The 3 cups.
The 3 cups. End of volume.
That's the end of the volume.
I'm so excited to see Sabo.
Yeah.
Because I really liked Sabo in the backstory, and I am hoping that I will like him now, post time skip Sabo.
Yeah.
And how he's changed. I'm excited to see what all he can accomplish, how he fights, what his sort of deal is.
Oh yeah.
And I wonder if there's more revolutionaries in the city than just him and Koala.
Who knows? Maybe Iva's big ass head is gonna peek around a corner.
Big ass head will peek around a corner.
maybe
Ask how
Monkey D. Dragon. Maybe Monkey D. Dragon is just gonna show up again.
And
that not tell Luffy that he's his dad and then leave.
He is wont to do that.
He does love doing that.
He does love doing that. So I guess with my final topic that I have on my list.
Yeah, he has his topic on the end of the list.
And this topic.
And I need to know what he's cooking here, guys.
You have no clue what I'm cooking here?
I mean, I have ideas, but I don't want to say any of my ideas.
Okay, so the topic here on the end of this list reads Alabasta and the Will of D.
Yeah.
So let me walk you through my thinking process here. First, I forget if it's during the flashback or when it is, but we learned from Don Quixote do Flamingo that at the end of the blank century, the 20 royal families banded together and created Marihua and moved to Marihua and became the Celestial Dragons, except one of them did not leave the country they were from and stayed where they were, and that country was Alabasta, the Kingdom of Alabasta. So that royal family has stayed in Alabasta for the last 800 years as opposed to going to Marihua like the rest of them did and becoming the Tenryubito, or the Celestial Dragons. Which I guess technically means that Vivi and her dad, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Cobra, thank you. I knew it was an animal.
Sheep.
Are technically also celestial dragons, but not probably the same thing.
Yeah, not in maybe in name alone.
In name alone,
maybe.
But I was thinking.
I don't know if a celestial dragon would consider them though.
Like
a celestial
royals
dragon.
Or not? Like truly celestial dragons? Because it's been 800 years. Like maybe when they first formed, they would have thought that way. And it's interesting. And I was thinking about, it's so interesting that the one royal family that did not join the others in Marihua seems to be the total opposite of the Celestial Dragons. Because Cobra and Vivi are about as far from the shitheads we've seen so far as you can get, right? Yeah. And so that got me thinking, why did the Kingdom of Alabasta not go to Marihua with the rest of them? Why did they stay? And my thinking is that it has something to do with the D.
With the D.
And there's a couple reasons for this. First, there is a poneglyph in Alabasta. And the poneglyphs presumably were left by the opposition to the world government, which are the 19 other kingdoms that joined the Marihua, or joined in Marihua and formed the world government 800 years ago. And the poneglyphs presumably have information they don't want getting out and is opposed to them.
Right. These
and
are
there is a
giant stone tablets of history that cannot be erased.
and there is a poneglyph that's not only within Alabasta but protected by the kingdom, protected by
Right.
the royal family. And it's the royal, I believe it was the royal duty passed down from king to king to keep that poneglyph safe.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to the duty of the people from, oh god, what is it called? Of Jaya, but like the part before it became Jaya as we know it.
The Shandians?
The Shandians, thank you. It was their duty
Shandorans?
to
Yeah.
protect the Shandorans, yeah, to protect the poneglyph that they had, similar to
Yeah.
the Kingdom of Alabasta. So why would the royals of Alabasta be protecting the poneglyphs if the poneglyphs are opposed to them?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. So presumably, my assumption is that the Kingdom of Alabasta has some connection to the people who are opposed to the world government, which begs the question why they were part of the royals working with them as opposed to against them.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a poneglyph. They protected it similar to the Shandians, or Shandorans. And
Mhm.
also, where was the first place we heard the term Wheel of D? Do you remember?
I do. It was Drum Island.
I thought it was in Alabasta, but not the Will of D. Isn't it in Alabasta when Robin first says Will of D when she asks what is the Will of D to
Well,
Luffy?
technically, Pareja says.
Well, Kureha says the thing about Gold D Roger, but she doesn't say the Will of D, does she?
I'm pretty sure she does.
I
But
don't remember her saying that. But regardless, it's still
nonetheless,
one
it's
of the.
brought up.
It's brought up in Alabasta.
Yeah.
A questioned to a member of the D clan, I
Yeah.
guess, a D family. I don't know what it's called.
I
don't know if
typically
I don't know if
people
I've
say
been
people say the D clan.
I don't know if it's something I'm even supposed to know if they have a name or not in universe.
The D clan is not, at least to my knowledge, an official group or anything. It's just kind of what the fandom refers to the D clan as.
Okay. So I was thinking that whoever the D clan were are connected to Alabasta somehow, because they were willing to entrust the kingdom of Alabasta with one of the poneglyphs for protection.
Yeah.
That somebody, an archaeologist of sorts, was there in Alabasta questioning what the D means and what it represents. It's at least, even if it's not the first time it's mentioned, it's the first time it's questioned. It's been questioned many a time.
And I might be wrong actually.
All I'm remembering is Kureha mentioning, so she was surprised that he went by Gold Roger now instead of Gold D Roger. But I could be wrong on that.
I think she said something about the D still being alive or whatever.
But I don't think she calls it the Will of D like Robin.
Maybe she doesn't actually call it the Will of D.
Because I remember being surprised when Robin said Will of D. I was like, what does that mean?
Okay.
But maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while since Alabasta.
It's been longer for me.
But I've been thinking about there's got to be some connection to Alabasta, and that maybe there was, and there's probably some connection from Alabasta to the other places that have poneglyphs, and that all connects to the D clan. So like some connection between Alabasta and the Kingdom of Alabasta and the Shandorans and the people of Fishman Island and their royal family also protecting.
Wasn't it stated that the one in, or was it the one in Skypiea that pointed to the poneglyph at Fishman Island?
Yeah, the one that the Shandorians were protecting points to the one at Fishman Island. And then we don't actually know what the one in Alabasta said.
Yeah, I think
we've not been told that.
Didn't she say that it did say something about the Pluton?
I think she said that it mentioned something about the Pluton, but we don't know exactly what it said.
Yeah.
We know what it didn't say because she made some stuff up and told it to Crocodile.
Right. This is just like a history book about Alabasta.
Yeah.
Mr. Crocodile, Mr. Zero.
Mr. Zero.
And then he's like, dang.
Dang. Guess I'm gonna kill you now. So I don't know. I think there's got to be some connection. Is that the only? Am I forgetting a poneglyph? Are those the only 3 poneglyphs we've seen? Just those 3?
I think so.
I'm just making sure I haven't forgotten one.
Hey, if we forgot a poneglyph, put it in the comments and tell us we're stupid.
Engage in the comment section of the YouTube video.
Yeah. Yes.
Ooh, you want to do engagement? Ooh. so that's sort of my theory on that, is that there's some connection between Alabasta and Shandora and the Fishmen and the D clan, and that the D clan presumably entrusted the knowledge within the poneglyphs to those people to protect them, because we know that the Kingdom of Alabasta was protecting theirs, and we know that the Shandorans were protecting theirs.
Right.
I guess we don't know that the one in Fishman Island was being protected, because I think Robin just took a bus to go see it. So maybe it's not as big of a deal in Fishman Island for the world government to go make it a big deal. But
maybe. But yeah, interesting that a country who is aligned with the world government so closely was a founding member of the world government, was entrusted with a poneglyph.
Was entrusted with protecting a poneglyph, which presumably are opposed to the world government.
Yeah.
I don't really have any new ideas for what the D could mean. I just think that there is some connection between those things and the D clan, and I don't know exactly what it is yet. Maybe it will make more sense as we.
I want to bring up a little something about the D clan.
Oh, you got something to bring up about the D clan?
Just something that maybe you didn't like
or didn't
fully
catch, or
think about.
Remember.
Just when Law and Doflamingo are fighting on the bridge.
Oh, that's true. I totally forgot about that.
Hey.
Let me. Oh, God, which volume is that in?
I have no idea.
It's got to be in this.
It's around
one, I think.
this point that we're at.
Oh, there's the Jacket Man. I just scrolled to the Jacket Man page. Where is Law fighting Dofi?
I try not to tell him.
I did. I definitely made a comment about it when I was live reading, but I did forget about it. Where is this? If only I knew what chapter it was in. But they're still on the island here, so it's got to be a little further ahead. And then they fight Doflamingo, and then Law gets separated, and then Law's on the bridge. Here we are. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
Now we're back to Rebecca.
You can see how this was paced very poorly in the anime.
Oh, I can imagine when it's paced half a chapter or an episode that it's probably awful. Yeah. Okay, now we've got the backstory, but when is them fighting on the bridge? We cut away from. Okay, here we are. Warlord Law versus Warlord Doflamingo. Yeah. Here we are. Doflamingo, you failed to buy as much time as we would have liked, and the Straw Hats still haven't found their target. You say you're only using them, but this plan requires you to place an awful lot of trust in their abilities. Why do you have so much faith in the Straw Hats? The D will bring forth a storm once more. What the hell does
What's
that
mean? About, man?
What the hell does that mean?
I don't think you have information enough to decipher that, but I did want to make sure you remembered it.
Yeah, let me briefly. I'm gonna quickly pull up the official translation to see what he says there.
Yeah.
It's around like the 130 point, just in case he says something more specific that I would want to note is what he says. The D will always cause another storm. Very interesting. I don't know what that means. It's so strange. What does he also? Let me see where he. This is also not too much further. He has the line about.
What does Law know about the Will of D?
Yeah, what does Law know about the Will of D? Where is the line where he has about Korra?
Also look at his jacket, by the way. Look at the back of his jacket.
Yeah, what about it?
What does it say?
I don't know. That panel's not very good. I can't read it. I can't make out what that says. Let me see if
it says Corazon.
Oh, Corazon. It's like a heart or something.
It's like the heart. Maybe like the Heart Pirates.
Yeah, maybe like the Heart Pirates. I don't remember where he says the thing about Korra either.
I know it was during the bridge fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the bridge fight is like the beginning and end of this volume.
Yeah.
And after the Will of D page, the next time he shows up, he's like being held by Doflamingo.
Yeah.
So I know it's not then. Just because I want to make sure that's like... That is what the name was, right?
Yeah, Korra.
Anyway, I don't know what
Yeah.
that really means, but it is something to do with the D.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing about a storm. Again, always. Always
Yeah.
bringing about a
Will
storm.
always bring forth a storm.
I suppose, I don't know, maybe, I mean, I am presupposing that the D clan were opposed to the Celestial Dragons and what has become the world government.
Yeah.
And Doflamingo is a
I
Celestial
don't think
Dragon.
that's a wild take.
And Luffy is a D, so maybe there's something to do with that. I don't know. Is that all that I have to talk about? Is there anything else that you want me to talk about?
Not that I'm remembering right now.
Like anything that caught your ear when I was in the library?
Again, not that I'm remembering at the moment. If there is something, I guess we can bring it up next time before we get into the next time.
Next time, which will be, how much am I reading next time, by the way?
Yeah, let me look that up.
So anybody, for the 0 people that are reading along, in case they want to read along.
Right.
Hey, you don't know. We have 4 subscribers. I don't know who the 4th one is. I have no clue, actually.
Hey.
I genuinely don't know.
Me neither.
But I only know explicitly who 2 of the subscribers are, because everybody except for you that has subscribed has their subscriptions hidden. So I can't actually see who's subscribing. It won't tell me. My YouTube studio won't tell me. But I know one of them is you and then one of them is me. So we're boosting engagement.
Of course.
By the way, sorry to ruin the magic of the 4 subscriber channel for you, viewer.
I like every video.
It's so true. I like recording every video.
I meant like I leave a like on every video.
I left a like on the first one. I don't remember if I left a like on the other 2.
When does this happen? Come on.
Oh, come on. When does this happen? I don't know. Should I just read like 3 volumes, or is that like not?
No, there's a specific thing I want you to get to the end of. I want to cliffhanger you again.
Okay. I don't know what the Mom Piece one goes to.
I'm doing the same thing.
Oh, you're checking that? Okay. No worries.
Where is it? If you want to do our,
hey, while he's looking for all this stuff, dear viewer, if you've sat through over 2 hours of 2 nerds talking about One Piece, you should hit the subscribe button, because there could be 2 more hours of One Piece discussion in like a week that you could be listening to when it comes out. And you know what happens if you press the subscribe button? YouTube says, hey, you like this stuff? I'm going to show you this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you like the video, you know what that does? It says to YouTube, hey, I like this stuff. Other people who are like me also probably like this stuff. And then more people will see it if you like the video. So if there's people like you who you want to see this, first you should share the video with them. But also you should hit the like and the subscribe button. And maybe, if you really don't want to miss a video, you should click the bell after you subscribe.
Ooh.
Because the bell will let you know even more certainly than just subscribing that there's a new video. And imagine if you've made it through 2 hours of One Piece video discussion, you probably want to listen to 2 more hours of One Piece discussion. And from what I understand, Dressrosa gets more exciting as time goes on. So imagine how much more fun you could have with Dressrosa Part 2 than you did with Dressrosa Part 1.
Yeah.
And then, even further than that, how much fun you could have with Dressrosa Part 3 instead of Dressrosa Part 2.
Yeah, we're doing 3 parts.
Or at least I'm presuming it's 3 parts.
And you will be reading to the end of chapter 768.
Do you know
so around? I don't know. I just know it's the chapter.
Okay, let me check my I'm not gonna look at chapter names. I did this last time. I did this last time. I didn't look at chapter names. I just looked at the chapter list. Do I just go to like this work? Yeah, volumes. So let's see. We are in this section. What did you say the chapter was?
Chapter 768.
Okay, 768 is partway through volume 77.
Okay.
Okay, let me make a note that I'm reading to 768. That's what you said, right? 768?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're like, I just can't stop here, then maybe we'll read to the end of that volume.
Okay. Worst case scenario, I read like an extra 3 or 4 chapters.
Yeah.
But 768 is a good stopping point, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Thank you all for sitting and listening to us
Thank you
talk
for
about One Piece.
watching, listening. I guess you didn't really watch much.
Hey, maybe you
but
watched the little PNGs bounce up and glow, and that's fun.
yeah, the realistic Chopper and Gaimon.
And Gaimon.
But yes, thank you so much for watching, listening. If you have any thoughts, put it in the comments. Do the
Don't spoil
engagement
things,
things. Yeah, definitely don't put any spoilers. I will be moderating the comment section, so if you do, I'll just delete it, and then you'll be sad that your comment got deleted.
Speaking of sad, if you can make him cry with a comment, I will put a heart on it. That's a promise from a previous episode, and it still holds true now.
That is a promise. If you ever make me cry with one of your comments, you get a little love heart.
All right, thank you all for
and then I'll look like this. This is what I'll look like after I cry from your comment.
Imagine, do you want to see that buggy face again? Then you should leave a comment on the video.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here.
All right.
He told you to do all the YouTubey things. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a great rest of your day.
Cheers.
Cheers.